Don't we love that? Spirit, lead me. And he created a lot of the words for that. I love it. Welcome to our 20th anniversary celebration. The year of our Lord. Isn't it amazing when we look at 2021 and the unfoldment that we've had this since March, for us 22nd, 2020, when it was the last time that we had our service at the Lieberman Chapel in Palm Springs. And what I am so deeply aware of in this theme, and I love this theme, and the theme is sacred contracts. In fact, Carolyn Mace wrote a book entitled Sacred Contracts. And I love how when things are like up, there are various authors that say, yes, this is up. I'm going to make this the title of my book. And the truth is, everything in life is a sacred contract. When the psalmist says, before they speak, I am hearing. And while they're yet listening, I am there. Energetically, that means that there is that one that goes before us and prepares the way with ease and grace. If we have eyes to see and ears to hear, be still and know that I am God. Before they call, I will answer. And while they're yet speaking, I will hear. So Reverend Emma made reference to the difference between a job and a calling. A calling is irresistible. A job is like 8 to 5. When am I getting off? When am I getting my break? There's not like a whole lot of energy in a job unless it really is a calling. And the difference is that the pull to that calling, when it's 6:30 on the evolutionary clock, there is no turning back. That call is so strong, it's involuntary. In fact, the Apostle Paul said it. He said, I must preach the gospel. Woe be it unto me if I do not. This is what I'm called to do. So when we have a special calling, and I don't care if you're pumping gas, and I mean, when in the days when we would have our gas pump, I was like the last, I was taking the last stand. I was going and I was finding, where they had full serve and it was like 30 miles away. I was on empty. I ran out of gas on the freeway. The highway patrol stopped and I was out of gas. And he said, well, didn't you notice you were on empty? I said, yes, but I was trying to make it to full serve. I don't want to go to self-serve. I want full serve. And there was this particular gas station attendant. And he was so loving and so caring, and he smiled at everybody. It was his ministry. And everybody loved to go to his gas station because he made you feel special, that he was there for you. So energetically, it doesn't matter what we're doing. But if it is done with love, if we love what we do and we do what we love, there is no greater combination on the planet than that. So I have often told a story about when I was 11 years old. And in fact, when we were little girls, my sister and I begged my father we wanted a playhouse. The girls down the street had a playhouse and they had so much fun and they, had their little cookery and all the things in there. We wanted a playhouse. And as far as my father could get was like, a sandbox. And then he had it filled with sand. And then he had a little kind of a umbrella put up on it. And we were very, very disappointed, of course. But at 11 years old, when I got back from the church that I used to walk to, and I had this pull to always go to church. My family did not go to church. They were not churchgoers. My mother was very religious, and she had a spiritual, psychic side that she was very frightened of as well. And she felt that that was kind of the work of the devil. And that's what, they were programmed to think that. In fact, Jesus was also accused that, this is the work of Satan and all of his miracles. And he could see through the appearance, the condition and the effects. And so those that weren't in alignment, they always judge, don't they? They're always right there to judge us. They're not in alignment. In fact, the 12-step program calls it contempt before investigation. That, I'm not going to even investigate it, because I don't believe in it. And rather than opening to the opportunity to broaden our horizons and to acknowledge that, I bless your path. It may not be my path, but I honor your path. And I don't believe in tolerating each other either. I think that's a lower vibratory frequency. I respect your path. It may not be my path, but I accept it for you. I don't tolerate you. I don't have to put up with you. I respect you and I bless you on your way. And sometimes, people come into our lives and they're there for a moment. We call it a reason, a season, or a lifetime, right? For a particular reason. Or they're there for a season. And those that walk beside us every single day, beyond time and space, no matter where they are on the planet, they are with us, beyond the reach of hands, yet ever in the heart. And if you've ever lost someone dear to you, beyond the reach of hands, forever in the heart. They are with us. That we feel them within the heart center, that they are alive and well, peering through the ethers, that in my Father's house are many mansions. If it were not so, I would have told you. The words of Jesus, who became the Christ as his humanness gave way to the divine. Now remember that Lord Buddha was very clear about what he wanted to do. And it was so interesting because his father sheltered him. He didn't want him to see the shadow side of the world. So everything was beautiful in the palace. Everything worked in the palace. Everything was there. He could not go beyond those walls. But guess what? He had a calling and went beyond the walls. And he saw, why is he limping? And his friend said, well, he's sick. Well, what does sick mean? And why is he not moving? Well, he died. Well, what does that mean? Well, he is no more. And he learned the shadow side of life, that it was not always the light, that there is a shadow also, just as Claudia tells us about the phases of the moon, that there are the shadow side of the energy of nature and the nature within us. So when we embrace our own shadow and we acknowledge that we are growing and unfolding, and that at 11 years old, when I took that sandbox after coming home and putting it on its side, and then they used to give us these amazing calendars. Remember those? Those amazing, Jesus, Mary, Joseph, all the apostles, and they were beautiful calendars with this artwork. So I, took and cut out all of the pictures and I pasted them. I put my now pulpit, the sandbox, up on its side, and the side that faced the dirt had all of those beautiful, beautiful pictures. And I gave my first sermon, which was about the loaves and fishes. And it's still my favorite because I love that Jesus offered it up and said, he thanked God before it was ever manifested. Thank you that thou hast heard me, and I know that thou hearest me always. Thank you. Thank you. I know that you hear me, and I know that you hear me always. And the loaves and the fishes, they multiplied. But I want you to know at 11 years old, I was very conditional. And anyone who talked during my sermon did not get Holy Communion, which was peanut brittle. And I have peanut brittle here today. It was sent to me from C's Candy from my daughter. She has always remembered this story and loved it. And Jimmy Rose always interrupted my talk, and I would say, Jimmy, be quiet. I'm 11, and Jimmy's he's like 9 or 8 or 9. And when Holy Communion came, Jimmy did not get the Holy Communion. I've grown a lot. I'm much more unconditional now. You can have peanut brittle, right? And that was our Holy Communion. And in metaphysics, what's so beautiful about our way of life is that every time we greet each other, that's Holy Communion. Every time we embrace each other, that's Holy Communion. Every time we open to each other, that's Holy Communion. And that we feel that heartbeat within us, and we acknowledge that heartbeat within us. So when Buddha discovered the shadow side of life, and went on his pilgrimage. And remember, he starved himself. And one day he was sitting and meditating, and there was a teacher with her student in a boat. and she was practicing the mandolin. We have ukulele Mike with us, so he understands about strings. So they were practicing on this mandolin. And the teacher said, if you loosen the strings too much, you will not receive any sound or music from it. If you tighten it too much, the strings will break and you will not receive any music from it. You must be in perfect balance as you play the mandolin. And suddenly Buddha got it. I'm starving myself. I'm skin and bones. I look like hell. And he got up and he said to to all of his little devotees that were skinnier than him, that he, at that moment, a little girl came and gave him a little pot of rice, and he was eating the rice, and his devotee said, how dare you eat the rice? And he said, how dare I not? This is the will of he who sent me. In other words, this is the will of balance and having balance in my life. And started, his quest in total balance, so that when he sat underneath that Bodhi tree, there was total enlightenment. There was the ego that came up in the form of Mara, the dark side that tempted him with, the lusting after the women that were there and the riches, just as Jesus was tempted on the mount. Hey, you don't need to fast for 40 days. You're Jesus superstar, Jesus Christ superstar. You don't need to do that. Turn this, stone into bread. Good old Satan's always there for us, cheering us on. That ego, the ego part of us. And what did Jesus reply? Man does not live by bread alone. Thou shalt not tempt the Lord thy God. And we do not live by bread alone, but by every word that proceedeth out of our mouth. Thoughts are things and words are mouth. That which we utter, what becomes the adder? So we learn to stand porter at the gate of our conscious mind, allowing only those things in that forward and advance ourselves, others, and ultimately the planet. This is how the law of circulation works. And that if we are experiencing congestion, then we need to open and give something. In fact, when Buddha was in a circle and he just held up a flower, many of the devotees felt they needed to make some sort of explanation. And only one of them smiled and said nothing. And he was the founder of Zen Buddhism. So as Mother Teresa says, peace begins with a smile. I saw a man today who didn't have a smile, so I gave him one of mine. There is always something to give. And today I wore my Nigerian outfit. You know that every year for 10 years, sometimes twice a year, I would speak at Madonna University in Nigeria, Africa. And I'm going to be speaking for the UCLA speech department, where at 15, 16, 17, 18, and 19, my speech instructor, who I had, Dr. Richard Arenstam, all those years, took me under his wing. He said to me, one day you will be a great orator. Those were his words. He took me to every speech competition, every speech tournament. I always came away with awards because this was my gift and my calling. And I majored in communication in college. And I was always very social. So at 4 years old, when I was, in kindergarten, I was like very young and I was very social. The teacher sent me to the cloakroom, and I have shared prior that I went through all of the bags in there and had cookies and sandwiches, and it was just wonderful. I thought this was just for me. I didn't know those were the first graders' lunches. I was just a little kindergartner, and my mother said, well, how'd it go today, honey? I go, oh, she sent me into this room, and I had cookies and sandwiches, and I just told my mother, oh, she said she could not stop laughing. She could hear little kids saying, what happened to my lunch? Who ate my cookies? Who ate my sandwich? I was social. I just thought, oh, the universe, it's for me. It's there. Thank you. Thank you so much. So when we open the space to allow God to do what God does best, and we hear the divine call and we answer that divine call, our life expands in amazing ways. Is it always easy? No. Are there sacrifices? Yes. Are there challenges? Yes. Is there suffering? Yes. All of the above. But there is great joy, and we know that joy is the most infallible sign of the presence of God. Joy. And that we move through all of the experiences to come back to where we began and to know it for the first time. To know it for the first time, because what? It's a new moment. It's a new day. It's a new opportunity to make a difference and to really know that for this did I come, for this was I sent. Not my will, but thine be done. Makes all the difference. So today, I just want to acknowledge all of you around the world. Those of you who were with me in my San Diego ministry, all those almost 30 years. And I lived in Coronado, right on the ocean, raised my daughter in Coronado. And when I sold my home, then I moved out into, I bought an old adobe estate. And when I bought that old adobe estate, I created a spiritual center. And when I created the spiritual center, we had a lot of wonderful gatherings there in San Diego. It was just really wonderful. And then went to Pasadena for a couple of years to take over from my mentor's ministry, and then called to Palm Springs. And what I noticed on the 111 is that when I would make the curve on the 111 highway, it felt like a portal opened that I drove through, and then it closed as quickly as it opened. And that I was wafted in to the Coachella Valley, into a land of awe and mystery, and knowing that Coachella means the hand of God, that we are all enfolded in the hand of God. And that does make all the difference. So we're all going somewhere. Where is it? Higher yet. Where is it? Higher yet. Where is it? Higher yet. Because we are in a high place and we will not come down. None of these outer things move us. We are in a high place and we will not come down. I say namaste. The divinity within me salutes the divinity within you, and the divinity within you salutes the divinity within me. And if I am in that place in me and you are in that place in you, there is only one of us. And I say shalom, the peace that passes all understanding. And God bless us, everyone. And so it is. Thank you.